The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.thebenjamindixonshow.com to register for our blog and join the Progressive Army.
The Wisconsin Supreme Court has decided in favor of John McAdams, the Marquette professor who was fired for a 2014 blog post in which he derided let me speak very specifically about the reason he was fired. According to Marquette, who has since this ruling agreed to rehire the professor since the Supreme Court of Wisconsin ruled in his favor, Marquette University is not backing down. They said that this case has never been about academic freedom or a professor's political views. Marquette University officials said in a statement that had the professor published the same blog without the student teacher's name and contact information, he would not have been disciplined. I mean, this is the quintessential example of Republicans, of conservatives using the guise of free speech as a way to propel themselves onto the national stage, when in actuality, they're not being disciplined for their free speech. They're being disciplined for the danger that they put people's lives in. This is the exact same scenario that propelled Jordan Peterson onto the international stage, right? That this professor, John McAdams, who won today is a victory for him, to be sure, but he doxed the woman and the student teacher rather. And if you go to his original blog and you click through the link that he shared, she had to take her entire website down because she received death threats. She received harassment, per usual, the same thing that everyone does. Right. So, but that was the reason he was fired. He was fired because he took actions that put a student's life in danger. But he sold this as though he was being a victim of political correctness because conservative ideas are no longer welcomed in society. This is so I guess the next thing he's going to do is go on a nationwide tour. Now, the Wisconsin Supreme Court is heavily controlled by conservatives. And the irony of this is that this decision is actually going to protect any type of claims of incivility that are being thrown. It's going to protect liberals and progressives from any claim of incivility. Surely if you can dox someone and have their life be threatened because you wanted to make a point, then no one should say anything to us about, not wanting to feed Sarah Huckabee Sanders chicken and a biscuit. Surely, right? So maybe this entire conversation about incivility should be set aside because it's a free-for-all. It's a free-for-all, but conservatives try to disguise their true intentions with this argument of free speech when it has nothing to do with free speech. The question is, do you have the freedom? Does your freedom of speech include endangering the lives of other people? That's the question. And surely we could see the difference. But of course, if there's a conservative listening to this, they're gonna be like, well, you guys, you went and threatened Scott Pruitt. No, they didn't threaten Scott Pruitt. She told him he needed to resign. Well, you threatened Mitch McConnell. Those guys went out there and threatened Mitch. No, they went and asked Mitch McConnell why it is that he's allowing children to be separated from their parents. Yeah, but you harassed Sarah Huckabee Sanders. No, we just didn't feed her that day. And so this really boils down to whether or not conservatives can put people's life. And actually, no, let's be holistic here. It's whether or not we, all of us, human beings, have the right, Americans have the right to put someone else's life in danger with our claim to free speech. Because I guarantee you this is going to be tested by a leftist, and we're going to see that it really doesn't, it doesn't protect leftists the same. It simply does not. Purdue University defended a professor's right to dress in blackface and did not fire that professor. And then subsequently, a teacher that was reprimanded, a professor that was reprimanded for participating in the hashtag Black at Purdue was disciplined because of her participation in the hashtag Black at Purdue. But the hypocrisy, pointing out the hypocrisy, is pointless. They understand. They understand exactly what they're doing. This is just another case of Republicans, of conservatives trying to use progressive concepts, liberal concepts, to maintain the power grip of conservative white supremacy in this country. Don't believe me? Watch. We talked about it yesterday. Conservatives are now using, and have been using for some time, the claim of reverse discrimination as a means of attacking affirmative action, in order to stop a program that's designed to reverse the ravages of Jim Crow and slavery in this country. They're now using the claim of reverse racism as a means of halting, of seizing any progress. Likewise, they're using the liberal concept of freedom of speech to protect their ability to harm other people's lives. Not just rhetorically, not just with their language, we can make that argument, but literally by giving out information about an individual that leads to their harassment and death threats. So there's no responsibility for any words that are being said, right? Is that where we are? No one could be held accountable for the damage that is done, the harm, the physical harm that is caused by the words that come out of our mouths or that are written in articles. And obviously that's not the case. But if you can wrap your argument and make it seem as though it's a matter of free speech and not just a matter of you carelessly endangering the lives of someone else, then of course you're going to find some conservative judges like Rebecca Bradley, one of the concurring judges who issued this statement. This is her concurring. She said, quote, "In this unprecedented dispute between a university and a professor," it's not unprecedented, but okay, "academic freedom was put on trial. Would the sacred right of faculty members to speak as citizens, that is, to address the larger community with regard to any matter of social, political, and economic or other interests without institutional discipline or restraint, succumb to the dominant academic culture of microaggressions, trigger warnings, and safe spaces that seeks to silence unpopular speech by deceptively recasting it as violence? In this battle, only one could prevail, for academic freedom cannot coexist with Orwellian speech police. Academic freedom means nothing if faculty is forced to self-censor in fear of offending the unforeseen and ever-evolving sensitivities or adversaries demanding retribution." I mean, this woman has written something that could be taken directly from Breitbart as an official opinion of the Wisconsin Supreme Court. First of all, succumb to the dominant culture of microaggressions, trigger warnings, and safe spaces that seek to silence unpopular speech by deceptively recasting it as violence. Your man, John McAdams, his words literally led to death threats and harassment, such that her free speech, the student professor Cheryl Abbott, her free speech was taken from her because now she could not participate on the same type of platform that he got to participate with. It's called targeted harassment. Basically, it's very simple. There is such a thing as targeted harassment. And every single one of us who has a platform, we understand that we have to be careful with what we say and how we say it, because what we say could lead to someone being harassed. And in the world of Twitter, if that is, if they believe that is targeted harassment, then you lose your platform. But no, they want no accountability whatsoever. And they want to be able to not only offend, we'll get to the offense part in a minute, but they want to literally be able to put people's lives in danger in the name of free speech, or deceptively disguising it as a fight for free speech. But as Marquette already said, Marquette made it clear that this had nothing to do with free speech. They said, quote, "This case has never been about academic freedom or the professor's political views. Had the professor published the same blog without the student teacher's name or contact information, he would not have been disciplined. So what they did is made this case about something that it was not about in order to get away with putting someone's life in danger. And no matter how no matter how they spin this, right? They try to spin this and say, oh, well, nobody's as violent as the left. I'm sure we're going to find, plenty of examples of the left being, Antifa being violent, but we're going to find more examples of people actually literally being killed by right-leaning fascistic ideologies. I'm not even getting to the ideology, right, to that yet. We're going to get to that in a second. But the excuses that are made to justify this ruling, the excuses that are made are overwhelmingly ridiculous. That, there's no violence. The only people who are violent are on the left. Really? I mean, I already gave an example, Charlottesville, people being killed by right-wing Nazis. Do we even have to, I'm not even going to entertain that, because anyone who says that is intentionally being a revisionist in order to create an asymmetrical fight where their bigotry and their violence is acceptable, and our faintest plea for civility or our faintest plea for equality is considered an offense. My music times itself. I have a template. Of course, I guess I could have edited it, but this is as good a place as any to toss the rest of the conversation over to patrons only. So if you want to join the rest of the conversation as I drill down on the fallaciousness of their arguments, go to patreon.com/the BPD show for more.